When it comes to helpful research tools, Mendeley Reference Manager sits among the top. Not only will it help you organize and streamline creating references and citations, but it's free and it's user-friendly. Matter of fact, I'm about to show you just how user-friendly it is, but I must disclaim that this is a longer review, so do use the timestamps to navigate to the parts you need, or let's face it, when you get tired of hearing me talk. Now, the first thing we need to do is install and set up the Mendeley software, as well as the two plugins, Mendeley Web Importer and Mendeley Cite. Now, Mendeley Web Importer is a browser plugin that helps you import sources found on the internet or online academic databases directly into the Mendeley Reference Manager. On the other hand, Mendeley Cite is a Microsoft Word plugin that links your Mendeley account to your Word documents, making it really easy to insert citations, references, and even your full bibliography. So to get started, you'll want to head over to mendeley.com, where the first thing you want to do is create an account because you'll need it to sign into the software later on. Once you're finished with that, go back to the Mendeley homepage where you'll want to select Download from the top right corner. This will bring you to the installation page where next you're going to select the option most appropriate for your operating system. I'm using a Windows computer, so we'll go ahead and select this right here. This will start the installation process where now you'll follow the prompts until Mendeley Reference Manager opens and asks you to sign into your account. Once you do so, congrats, because installation is officially complete. Now, before we tear into this user interface, let's go ahead and set up the plugins, and this should be pretty easy to do. Note, for example, how I'm being prompted to download Mendeley Cite directly from the library. If you don't have that option, option number 2 is to use the Tools section here at the top. From there, let's say we select Mendeley Web Importer, that's going to bring us to the web browser for the Web Importer installation page. Now, if for some reason your tools section didn't have those options, no worries, head right back over to the homepage where under section 1, you can click Learn About the Library, in which you can tab over to the plugin you need. In this case, Web Importer. And what's really nice is Mendeley will actually match the download package to the web browser you're using. As you can see, I'm being offered Google Chrome, so we'll go ahead and select this, and just like before, we'll follow the setup guide and let the installer do its thing. Now, once it's finished, you can check by coming up to the top right where your extensions are located, and underneath you should see Mendeley Web Importer listed. So that's one down, one to go, meaning we need to head back over to Mendeley and tab over to Mendeley Cite. From here, go ahead and select Get Mendeley Cite, which is actually going to bring you to the Microsoft App Store where you can begin the installation process. So we'll select Get It Now, and then you should be prompted to log into your Microsoft account or select the account you're using. What this does is it starts the process of linking the two accounts together. And when it's finished, you'll be prompted to open Word, which will populate a new Microsoft Word document. And to make sure Mendeley Cite was installed, go ahead and select the References tab, and then you should see Mendeley Cite over there on the right. That means our Mendeley is locked and loaded, we're good to go. Although it's a little quiet in here, so let's add some references. You have 5 choices. Add manually, use an identifier, upload a PDF, use the Web Importer plugin, or use the Search for Articles Online tool. Let's start with manual. To do this, go ahead and select Add New from the top left, and then select Add Entry Manually. Now, we're going to ignore the identifier field for now, so we'll start by selecting the reference type. And it's important that you choose the correct reference type because it's going to determine the fields populated to you below. Next, you're going to type in the title, and it's important that you follow the exact formatting of the title on whichever source you're using, so it's formatted in your bibliography correctly later on. Next, you have the authors. The correct way to format the authors here is by typing out their last name first, followed by a comma, and then their first name to end it. And if you're adding more than one author, be sure to add them each in their own individual field. From there, go ahead and fill out the rest of the information. In this case, it's the source information pertaining to the journal article. But once you're finished, go ahead and select Add Entry from the bottom, and you'll see it populated to the top of your library list. Now, in all honesty, manual entry is the most time consuming. Thankfully, we have option 2, which is to use the identifier, something like a DOI number or a URL link or even a PubMed ID. So let's retrace our steps, select Add New, Add Entry manually, and then taking a look at the source we're citing, we're gonna copy and paste the DOI number, paste it into the identifier field, and then check it out. Within a matter of seconds, Mendeley has populated all that same information and input it for us. So we're going to select Add Entry, and then now it's at the top of our list. But now we have 2 of the same reference, which is confusing, and also there's a discrepancy between the last name Smith, which I can say with 100% certainty is my fault, since we use an identifier to input the most recent reference. So let's go ahead and delete this. You can right-click, select Delete Reference, or you can tick the box and then select Delete from the bottom ribbon. The box is a nice option if you're deleting multiple references at once. But now let's go ahead and move on to the third option, which is to upload a PDF. To do this, go back to Add New and select Files from Computer. From here, you can look up the file location. Now, if you already have the PDF accessible, you can simply drag and drop the PDF file into the reference library. What do we have here? Ah, yes, we're being asked to review duplicates. This is because Mendeley is programmed to detect duplicate material. So ideally, you want to get rid of the entry that has the least amount of information. As we can see with these, the PDF by far has more information than the entry that used the DOI number. So here's the thing. If you have access to the full PDF, I always recommend including it. For instance, if we open our saved entry and select Read, now we're in the PDF editor, where yes, you can read the article anytime you want, but more importantly, you can add highlights and sticky notes. And also this starts to become a powerful tool when you start to use annotations, or say if you're sharing articles in a group project. Now, I don't have time to get into all of this right now. Let me know in the comment section if you would like a full tutorial. But for now, let's move on to the fourth way you can upload an entry into the library, which is through the Mendeley Web Importer plugin. All right, we're chugging along on Google Scholar, and we start by clicking this article here. So first, you might see a window pop up like this. That simply means that the Mendeley plugin is pulling data together, and you might even see a red pop-up on the sidebar that says View PDF. What that means is that Mendeley detected a PDF file of this article. So here you can read through it, decide if you would like to keep it, not whatever, but to be clear, by clicking View PDF, that is not importing it into your Mendeley library. You would need to come back to the original source right here, go up to Extensions, and select the Mendeley Web Importer. This will bring out the full Mendeley plugin column, in which from here, you can simply select Add, which will add it to your library. And let's take a look. There it is at the top of our list. Now, to take this a step further, notice how there is this file icon on the right-hand side. So you'll want to click into the entry and then select Read, which will properly download the entire PDF into your actual library. Keep in mind, not all sources come with a PDF, but hey, it's cool when they're there. Now, let's say the new entry didn't automatically add to your library. If that's the case, it typically means that all you need to do is resync your library, which you can do by selecting the sync icon up here by your name. Now, going over to the actual web importer, sometimes you may run into issues. It's not a lot, but it's not never. So here's what I recommend doing. Anytime the plugin seems to be faulty, one, refresh your web browser. Or in some cases, you may need to rekindle the library connection to the plugin, which you can do by selecting View Library from within the plugin, which is going to bring up your Mendeley reference library through a web browser. From here, I recommend resyncing, and at that point, everything should be firing on all cylinders. By the way, this is a good thing to know because this means you can access your reference library pretty much from anywhere as long as you have an internet browser. But we're going to move on to the fifth and final way you can add references into your library, and that is to use the Search for Article Online's tool. This is actually Mendeley's researching tool, and you can find it right here under the Tools section. And essentially, it's going to bring you to Mendeley's literature database. This is made possible through their partnership with Elsevier. As you can see, I typed in business management, and we have a ton of quality articles to choose from. And quite frankly, I like to say that this tool is essentially the Web Importer plugin meets an academic database. It has the exact same features. As you can see, you can add this article to your Mendeley library. You have the option to view the entire PDF. And if you click the article, you're going to get a preview column of what's included. So all in all, I find this to be an effective way to perform research and to build out your Mendeley library. Speaking of which, now that we have a few references, let's take a look at the user interface. Actually, I'm going to add a few more first. Alrighty. So this is what your library will look like after you've been using it for a while. As you can see, all the references are stored in the center of the library, and by default, it's set to the All References viewpoint, which simply means that they're ordered from most recently added. Now, starting on the left-hand side, you may or may not see a green dot next to the entry. That's there to indicate whether or not you've read the PDF file. If the green dot is there, it means you haven't read it. And do keep in mind that if your entry doesn't have access to a PDF file, the green dot will remain there indefinitely. Now, next to it, you have the star, and the star is there so you can favorite certain articles. And just like on Gmail, when you favorite an article, it adds it to your favorites list, which you can see is located on the left-hand side. From there, you have 4 columns that represent the 4 elements in a reference list entry, being the author, the year of publication, the title, and the source. Next, you have the 5th column, which is simply a date stamp reflecting the date that this entry was added. And then the last column is going to be the file status for the entry. So if you see the grayed out paper icon, that means that there is a PDF file available for download. Once you click it and it's finished downloading, that icon will change to the green check mark. And again, if you don't see any icon at all, it just means that there's no file available for the entry. If you'd like to view or edit an entry, simply click on it, and this is going to populate the information for this reference. So the top half, that's where all the element information will be contained, and then underneath, you have a few other fields. So if you see the icon or the button for Get PDF or Read, that will take you to the PDF editor. Underneath that, you have an area where you can paste the abstract if you have one available. Next, you have the tags section. So you can assign tags to a reference, which are essentially labels based on a common or relevant keyword. This makes it easier to group sources together later on using filters. For instance, this already has the tag bioengineering. I might add an additional tag for, say, climate change. This way, using a filter, I can filter my library to only sources that have the tag climate change, bioengineering, or both. I'll show you how to do this in just a second, but let's go ahead and finish out this section. So underneath tags, this is where the external file will be located if there was a PDF available. Next, you have a field where you can paste the URL link. This comes in handy if you're using a source that doesn't have an external file. So for example, let's say you're referencing a YouTube video. If you paste the URL here, then you have quick access back to that YouTube video later on. And then the final sections in the information are going to be the identifiers. So you have the full list of identifiers in the citation key, which is simply an identifier for a bib text entry. Scrolling back to the top, you have 2 more tabs, the annotations and the notebook. These are both areas where you can add notes while you're performing your research. The difference is that annotations pertain to a specific reference, while the notebook contains generalized notes that you can access throughout the entire library. So for example, if I'm reading through this article and it makes a super interesting point, I might go to the annotation section and jot it down there. Or if I'm in the PDF editor and I see the super interesting point, I might create a sticky note where the section is, and that will also be added to the annotation section. Now, let's say reading this article is just a small part of a larger project. I might want to include a note in the notebook so I can view it later on. To do this, I can either start a new page if I'm just beginning, or I can add to a previous page I've already started. This way, when I return to my library, I can access that same note page within any source, or I can use the notebook feature directly from the home page. But now let's talk about sorting or filtering your library. So on the left-hand side, you have your basic options such as recently added, recently read, your favorites list, or your publications if you have any linked to your Mendeley profile. Next, you can quite literally click on a column to reorder the references by the column heading. And you also can search your reference library using the search bar. From here, you can search for a specific article or even a keyword. Finally, on the right-hand side, you have filters. The two filters are by author or by tags. So as you can see here, we have the tags we created earlier. For example, we might filter by bioengineering for a broad view. Let's say you want to view articles published most recently, then you can toggle the year column heading. Let's say that doesn't matter, but you want to refine your bioengineering search. This is where we could add climate change. So now we're grouping together sources that contain both bioengineering and climate change tags. But now let's move on to organizing your library. And this can be done through Mendeley's folder system, which is through collections and groups. Now, the only difference here is that collections are native to your library, while groups can be shared with others for collaboration. So let's go ahead and create a collection. What you're going to do is you're going to click where it says new collection, give your collection a name, we'll go with bioengineering, and then hit enter. With that, your collection is created. Now we just need to add references to it. To do this, you can tick the box on the left for the reference you'd like to add, select organize, add to collection, and then select the collection you'd like to add it to. Option 2 is you can click and hold on the reference and then drag and drop it into the collection. Super easy. Now, when it comes to removing a source from a collection, you want to make sure to right click and then select remove collection. That way it's only removed from the collection and not deleted from the entire library. Something that's really cool is you can add sub-collections to your collections. So perhaps I'll add a sub-collection for climate change here where I have bioengineering. I can add another one, say stem cell, if that's another popular topic I'm researching that is related to bioengineering. So basically, I just created a mini library. Now you could take this same system and apply it differently. Say you create your main section to reflect the course you're taking, and then the subsections are there to organize per project you're assigned. So once again, don't be afraid to get creative. But now let's move on to groups. And good news, they function almost identically to collections, in that you're going to start by giving the group a name. You'll add references to the group the same way as before. You can even create collections and sub-collections within a group for extra organization. So really the only notable difference is that you can share this group with people. To do this, you want to right-click the group, or you can select the menu option from the right, in which you're going to select Manage Group, where from here you can send out invites using people's email addresses. But that's officially the grand tour of how to use the Mendeley library. The last thing you need to learn is how to use it in Microsoft Word. So let's go ahead and pull up a fresh Word document, where the plugin will be ready and waiting for us under the References tab. When you open it, you'll see a column appear to the right. And here, you should see all of your references listed out. Next to the references, you'll see citation settings, which is where you'll change your citation formatting standard if you need to, and also you can change the citation language. But let's go ahead and go back to our references and start by inserting our first citation. Now, it's important to note that you need text within your document in order to insert a citation, so that's why you see our lovely Latin introduction right here. But what you want to do is you want to place your cursor to the exact location of where you'd like the citation to be. So in this case, it's going to be after the last word in this sentence, but before the period. Once my cursor is good to go, I'm going to tick the box for the source I would like to insert, and then select Insert One Citation from the bottom banner. If you need to insert a citation that uses more than one source, you're going to follow the exact same steps, except you'll tick the box for the additional source you need, and then select Insert Two Citations. Now, let's say you need to edit a citation. You have a couple options. One, when you tick the box, note how there's a preview above the Insert One Citation button. You can double click that, which will bring up the window for the information where you can change the fields. And if not, you can also insert the citation directly from the paper after inserting it by simply clicking within the citation. But now let's talk about sorting this list of references, because by default, it too is going to be set to the All References viewpoint. So you have much of the same options. First, you have the search bar here, which is handy if you want to search for an author. You can search for the title of a specific article, or you can search for keywords as a way to help jog your memory to find the article. You can also select this drop-down menu where you'll see the same options from your library, in that you have your recently added, recently read, your favorites, your publications, but most importantly, you can access your collections and your groups. So if you are doing your due diligence, using collections, organizing your sources as you are performing research, when you're writing your paper, it becomes really easy to locate the sources you're using and insert the citations into your paper. Now, the final note I want to make is that if you've added a reference recently to your Mendeley library and you don't see it in your Microsoft Cite plugin, there's a good chance you simply need to refresh your plugin. To do that, you're going to come up here to the menu on the right-hand column and then select Update from Library. That is going to sync the two programs together and you should be good to go. Now, finally, the last thing the plugin is good for is inserting your bibliography. So to do this, you want to go ahead and set up your reference page. You want to bring your cursor to the first line, so where the first reference is going to be inserted, then come up back to that menu and select Insert Bibliography. Now, I recommend setting up your reference page as soon as you insert your first citation, because the beauty in the plugin is that every time you add a new citation to your paper, it's also going to update your bibliography by adding the full reference list entry. So this becomes a mindless task while you're writing your paper, and when you're finished, all you may have to do is go to the reference page, adjust some of the formatting, and that's it. Finally, when it comes to using Mendeley for Google Docs, unfortunately, there isn't an official plugin available, but I do have a workaround where you can still kind of use it to create your references. Be sure to check out this video if you're interested in learning that. For everyone else, let me know if you have any questions down in the comments section, and I'll see you in the next video.